Good morning, everybody. It's Mr. Nerd here. You are doing morning work Thursday, week 26. And that's the last day of the week for this. And then all that's left is the computation concept quiz and homework. All right, let's go. All right, y'all. Number one, week 26, Thursday. I'm going to show you three ways and do the cross multiplication way that they ask for here. This was my favorite way. This is just a visual way that makes sense as well. Somebody like this. Eventually, doing something like this in your head is the goal because you want to be at the store and find out, okay, well, it's $30 and that was 40% off. What was the original price? Is that worth it? So on and so forth. So let's start with this one right here. 2/5 is the simplified fraction version of 40%. Remember, 20% is 1/5, 40% is 2/5. And so I just wrote that 2/5 is the same as 30 of something, right? Part to whole. And so now I'm just looking at equivalent fractions here. And since I'm dealing with smaller numbers, it's easier to figure out. I know 2 sets of 15 is 30. So 2 times 15 gives me 30. That means this x has to be in the same relationship or the same ratio, the same change in factor as the 2 was times 15. So I do 5 times 15, and I get 75. So x is 75 right here. So this was, one section of my work that I think is my favorite way of doing it. So I'll cross that off there. Okay, then I'll zoom in over here on the tape diagrams. Remember, what you can do is, again, you'll see 5 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because 100%, if I break it up into 20s, 5 equal pieces of 20, I can have 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. All right, so then the top section represents my percentage. Okay, and this is 40%, which is also equal to 30 of the value that I'm comparing with 30 and x. So I make these two boxes worth 30 for the bottom part. And if that's the case, I've got 30 broken into 2, which is 15. That means each box is 15 because they're all the same size. And so 5 15s would equal 75, or the total. And then lastly, the cross multiplication. So 40% represents 40 out of 100, and I say that that's the same as 30 over the whole that I don't know, because I know 30 is the part. And then I cross multiply, diagonally, and I write 40x equals 30 times 100 is 3,000. That's my son in the background if you hear him. And then I divide by 40 to cancel out this 40. Divide by 40, which is really 300 divided by 4, because I can cross out the 0. And 75 times 4 is 300, so I know that x equals 75. So no matter which way I do it, I get 75. So for number 2, we've got 4/5, right? 4/5 is 40x, which is times 10, so x is 50. Right? Times 10. Times 10. If I wanted to cross multiply that, again, you could write 80 over 100 instead of 4/5, right? That's equal to 80 over 100. I could do 4x equals 5 times 40, which is 200. Divide by 4, divide by 4, and that's still going to be 50. So no matter which way I do it, I get 50. This is my preferred method. If you do not, just focus on that, making equivalent fractions using the fractional form of the percentage and simplified version. For number 3, it's plot B. Oh man, wrong button. Plot B, because they both have a mode of 8, right? 8 is the mode, the most popular, the one with the most. And they both have that, but the median of 9 would not be A, because when you cross off these two, and then you cross off this one, you cross off this one, you got to cross out these two, you can cross out these two, and you're still left at 8. On plot B, if you work your way out to middle, there's 1 and 1, right? Then we'll just go ahead and do 2 8s and the 2 10s, and then we have 2 8s and 2 9s, and we're still left with 1 9. So 9 is the median of plot B. So remember when we multiply decimals, we get to cheat a little bit. It's different than all the other ones. We don't really care where the place values are, right? We just set it up like 721. Imagine that decimal doesn't exist. 721 times 34. It only works with multiplication of decimals. So we're just going to line up the last digits, right? And then I'm going to remember, yes, I really do have decimals in there, and they happen to be lined up. But it doesn't always have to work that way. What I do need to recognize is that in 72.1 or 72 and 1/10, I have one place value that is a decimal, and in 3.4 or in 3 and 4/10, I have one place value that is a decimal. So that gives me a total of 2 decimal place values. And those 2 decimal place values will show up in my answer. So now I'm going to go and solve it. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 7 is 28. Drop my 0 just like normal. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 7 is 21. And now I'm just going to add them together. It's 11. 9 and 6 is 15. 3 and 1 is 4. 2. And then remember, I needed 2 decimal place values. So I'm just going to start from here. Go 1, 2. And I'm going to put my place... Sorry, I had to sneeze. Put my decimal right here after 2 decimal place values. And my answer is 245 and 14/100ths. All right, so remember when we are dividing fractions... or dividing anything, there's a rule that says when you are dividing, that is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. The reciprocal is when you flip a number, right? The top and the bottom. So instead of 10/13, it'd be 13/10, right? And we are going to change the division to multiplication because we have to multiply the reciprocal. We're doing the inverse problem, basically. And so we're going to keep 1/2 the same because we're not changing what we're starting with, but we are going to multiply by the reciprocal. So that you have heard of as keep, change, flip. Looks like KFC, but not. So now you just multiply straight across and then simplify. We end up with 13/20ths. So the answer is 13/20ths. So for our final question, we're going to solve for y and then plot them. So it says that y is 2x, so whatever x is, we're going to multiply by 2, then subtract 3. All right, so start here. All right, what is 2 times 2? All right, again, I'm doing it times 2 because it says 2x, which is 2 times x. 2 times 2 is 4, and then we have to subtract 3. 4 minus 3 is 1, so y would be 1. So then I'm going to plug the 3 in, right? 3 times 2, because it's 2 times x, and x is 3, is 6. 6 minus 3 is 3. Now I'm going to do the same thing with 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 minus 3 is 5. And then our final one, 5 times 2 is 10. 10 minus 3 is 7. So now we just plot them. 2, 1. X is 2. Y is 1 is 2 to the right. 1 up. Kind of a terrible looking dot, but there you go. Then I have 3, 3. So 3 over, 3 up. 4, 5 is 4 to the right. 5 up. And then 5 to the right. 7 up. So you see a little pattern going on here, and it looks like that even makes a straight line, don't you think? It does not pass through the point of origin, but it does make a straight line. That wasn't even one of the questions. So there was the morning work. Sorry about if you heard any noise in the background, but I have a noisy house with 3 little kids. So anyway, hopefully that helped. Do you have any questions? Message me on Schoology. Talk to you later. Bye.